right? And imagine a guy walking down the street, and he finds a table sitting there right in middle of the street. And if you were to ask average Joe, where does this table come from, right? So what are some possible answers average Joe might give you? IKEA, there you go. That's a good one, especially around here. A tree, fell off a truck, China, okay. All sorts of possibilities, what he might say. However, what average Joe is not going to say, he's not going to say, oh, the table just popped out of nowhere, right? Because the table is something that is in the finite, is something that is in the realm of time and space. And anything in time and space, we can know two things about it. We can know, number one, from nothing, nothing comes. And we can know, number two, nothing finite can create itself. Right? So the table can't pop out of nowhere, and the table cannot bring itself into existence. Right? Okay, let's take this to something else that is finite. Let us try you, sir, guy who just walked in. Ready? Are you in the finite? Are you in time and space?
Yes.
Yes, certainly the side of you that we are perceiving right now is in time and space, right? Which means that I can already know two things about you. I can know, number one, from nothing, nothing comes. I can know, number two, nothing finite can create itself. So it's not a matter of faith or belief, but I can know just by looking at you that you have or had parents. Yeah? Well, or you're created in a lab by some scientists, or you're a test tube. Okay, all sorts of possibilities, yeah? But for now, parents, we can assume that. Yes, fair?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the parents, also in the finite, correct? Also in time and space, yeah. So that means we can know two things about them. From nothing, nothing comes. Nothing finite can create itself. So it's not a matter of faith or belief, but the idea is that we can know, just by looking at you, that you have or had grandparents. Yeah? All right. Okay, let's say you take this all the way back to the first person. Or if you want to include evolution for now, the first monkey, the first ape-like being, the first amoeba, the first cell, the first gas, that first finite thing, so small, you need a super-duper microscope in order to see it. And we were to ask, okay, where does this thing come from? Right? So again, it's totally, you cannot see it with your naked eye. It's totally microscopic. However, it is in the finite. It is within the realm of time and space. And therefore, the idea is that you can know two things about it. Right? You can know, number one, from nothing, nothing comes. Number two, nothing finite can create itself. So it's not a matter of faith or belief, right? But the idea is that you can know that there can be no other logical alternative other than the idea that there's something that's outside of the laws of the finite, outside the laws of time and space, which created time and space and that which is in it. Right? And this is what we call, in one word, the infinite. The infinite. And let's be clear on what we're saying. What we're saying nothing more than what it's not. Infinite, that which is not finite, that which is beyond the limitations of time and space. Right? And of course, in Judaism and in general in the world, we have a word for this, and it is, of course, God. Right? And so the question, though, then becomes, all right, let's say you have this infinite being. The next question, though, is, okay, so what? What difference does that make to me? Who cares? So there's an infinite being. So what? What difference does it matter? Right? And why did the infinite being put me into this world with a brain to figure out that he, she, it exists? Right? After all, what can I do? Right? What did he put me here for? What can I do for the infinite being? Right? And so we'll put that question to you guys. What can you possibly do for the infinite being? Okay, that is correct. There is nothing you can possibly do for the infinite being, right? If you pray to God, is God now infinite plus one? No, it doesn't make sense, right? So, of course, there's nothing that we're going to be able to do. There's nothing that we can do that's going to make a change in the essence of the infinite, right? So the next question becomes, okay, if there's nothing that God's going to quote-unquote get out of it, next question becomes, all right, how about number one? How about yours truly? What can I get out of the deal, right? And so the next question is, all right, what can I get out of the deal? What am I after? What is it that people want? What is it that really is at the root of every decision that people ever make? Right? What is it? What is it that people are after in the world? What is it that is at the root of all of our choices? What say you people? Come on. You guys aren't drinking enough. Usually it flows a little more freely. What do we say?
Pleasure. Self-preservation.
Self-preservation, desires, pleasure. What did you say? Fulfillment, right? Everyone forgot money, women. Okay, fine. Okay, all sorts of happiness, joy, right? I'll tell you what, I usually like to go with the happiness answer. But the truth is, right, or someone said pleasure, someone says fulfillment is a good one too. But the truth is, right, maybe people want cars, I don't know, people want money. But there's everything that everyone said is a good answer, right? But I like to use the happiness answer because the happiness answer really is the umbrella organization, right? Meaning to say that the truth is that everybody wants what they want because really what they're trying to get to is happiness. I want money because I think that's going to be that's going to be a road by which I get to happiness. I want, what else we got here? A good job, I think it's going to get me to happiness. I want a lot of cars because, hey, I'll be happy if I have a lot of cars. Right? So everyone wants to get the most pleasure, joy, happiness out of life. The next question that becomes, right, by the way, we see this. Let's just do a little quick example here how we see this to be true. Are you ready to play? Philip, all right. Philip is walking down the street. What do you know? It's his lucky day. He finds a wallet. He picks up the wallet, cracks it open. Woo, $500. Used to be worth something. Then he looks over at the other side, and he sees, Philip, contact information, email, cell phone. Dilemma. Philip, what do? Do you keep the money or do you give it back?
Final answer?
Yeah.
You give it to charity.
Do you keep the money or do you give it back?
50-50. I need some help here. Keep it. Return the wallet.
Keep the money? Keep the money? You're keeping the money?
This time I'm keeping the money.
Fine, Philip keeps the money. Okay, and now we have, what's your name, sister? Ready? Patsy's walking down the street. What do you know? It's her lucky day. She finds a wallet. She picks it up, cracks it open. $500. Uh-oh. Look on the other side, though. Contact information. Email, cell phone. Patsy, what do? Do you keep the money or do you give it back? Patsy gives back the money. Perfect. So here we have Philip keeping the money. We have Patsy giving back the money. What I'd like to put forth is that Philip and Patsy, really, they're doing bipolar opposite things, but for the same basic reason, which is happiness. Everyone wants to get the most, right? We understand. Everyone wants to get the most pleasure, joy, happiness out of life. And so Philip, we understand. He says, look, I want to get the most pleasure, joy, happiness out of life. Therefore, I'm keeping that money. But Patsy says, look, I want to get the most pleasure, joy, happiness out of life. Therefore, I'm going to give back the money. However, Patsy also takes back the pleasure of being good, feeling good, doing those things that society has brainwashed me to believe to be good. And I feel the conceptual pat on the back from my society. And that makes me feel all nice and tingly inside. And so it comes out really that everyone wants to get the most pleasure, joy, happiness out of life. The question then becomes, if we want to get the most pleasure, joy, happiness out of life, the next question becomes, how? How do we do that, right? Or what's the most available, right? So we take a look around the world. We see that there's all sorts of pleasure options out there, right? You got sex, drugs, rock and roll. But what do all those pleasures, though, what do all those pleasures have in common?
Transients.
Physical, transient, or to use a word we've used already, temporary, to use a word we've used already? Finite, materialistic, but the word we've used already, finite, right? They're all in the finite. They're all within the limits of time and space. Yes, there is a high, but you come down for that high. Or you come down from that high, right? The next question then becomes, though, okay, is there anything that goes beyond that? Anything that goes beyond those limitations? Anything that goes beyond the finite? Perhaps something we've mentioned already. The infinite, right? Someone said it. The infinite, right? Okay, so here's the Jewish idea, right? The Jewish idea is, look, we all want to get the most pleasure, joy, happiness out of life, and therefore what we're going to want to do is we are going to want to build and facilitate a relationship, association, affiliation with the infinite, right? And let's be careful, though, what we're saying. We're not saying I'm going to chuck the finite for the sake of the infinite. No, we're not saying that. We're saying I want to get it all. I want to get the infinite and I want to get the finite. The only time I'm ever going to pass up on any kind of pleasure in life is if by my partaking of the lower finite, it will come in the way or block my access to the higher infinite, in that particular case, I will forgo the finite for the sake of it not blocking my access to the infinite. Right? And the truth is, of course, that reality is that that's a lot of words, but the truth is that that is really the way we make all our decisions in life, with that same kind of calculation. I'll give you an example. Right? Imagine you have a guy, big man on campus, with a different young lady every night. Right? And after a few years of living this lifestyle, imagine he decides, after a few years of this, he decides, listen, all this physical pleasure I'm involved with is fun and dandy, but I want to pursue a loving, committed relationship with a particular young lady. Right? So can you hear the idea that in order for big man to pursue a loving, committed relationship, can you hear the idea that that entails him forgoing a whole lot of the physical pleasure he's been involved with up until this point? Right? Can you hear the idea that if he continues with his big man on campus lifestyle, that will undermine loving, committed relationship? Right? Okay, so fast forward down the road, and we catch up with big man 10 years down the road, 10 years down in his life, right? And we catch up with him, and here he is, happily married, with a couple of kids. But we find him leaving his wife and kids temporarily in a tearful goodbye to go out and fight for a particular cause that he believes in, whether it's going to help people fight disease in Africa or fight a war that he thinks is necessary for his country, whatever it might be. But he's leaving that relationship and family unit and 9-to-5 lifestyle that was primary in his life until that point to go out and do something that's more worldly, which entails him leaving the 9-to-5 lifestyle. After all, if he continued with the 9-to-5 lifestyle, obviously that will undermine him going to Africa and helping and heal whatever kind of disease he was going to go help with over there, right? And so the idea is that, look, at the top of this list is what we're saying here is at the top of this list is to build and facilitate a relationship, association, affiliation with the infinite. And so then the next question becomes, okay, if we want to go ahead and build and facilitate a relationship with the infinite, next question, of course, is how? How do we do that? Right? Okay, so here's where the Kabbalists kick in. Because one of the foundational teachings of Kabbalah, right, one of the foundational teachings of Kabbalah is, right, let's first understand what we mean by the word Kabbalah. Of course, the Hebrew word Kabbalah has an initial meaning. What does the word Kabbalah even mean? Anybody?
Receive.
To receive, right? Because we're receiving the deeper teachings of the deeper understanding of the Torah, deeper teachings of the world are being received by the student from the teacher, right? However, there is another less known understanding of what Kabbalah is all about. And also the word Kabbalah, right, that the word Kabbalah is also related to another Hebrew word, makbil. They share the same root. Makbil. Makbil, of course, means anybody? Parallel, right? Because one of the foundational principles of Kabbalah is that everything in this physical world is a parallel to a deeper spiritual reality. And therefore, that means that if I understand something about the spiritual, I'll be able to see it play out in the physical, the parallel to it, right? But of course, the opposite is also true. If I want to understand something about the spiritual, what I'm going to be able to do, if I can find the physical parallel of that and understand it deeply and pull out the proper principles, I will be able to take those principles in the physical and apply them and understand them as a parallel and projection of that which is going on in the spiritual. So, for example, in the case we're talking about, if we want to understand our relationship, the concept of how we're going to build a relationship with the infinite, so I want to look at the parallel for my relationship with the infinite. Namely, my relationships in this world, interpersonal relationships. If I study those correctly, with the proper wisdom, hopefully I can pull out a number of principles about how relationships operate and take those principles and understand them as a parallel and projection of the ultimate relationship, our ultimate match made in heaven, our relationship with the infinite. And we'll be able to take those principles, hopefully understand them correctly, and apply them and see how it plays out also in our relationship with the infinite. Because after all, the only reason why our relationships in this world work the way they work is because it's a parallel projection of our relationship with the infinite. Okay, so are you ready?
Yes.
Can I get a yeah?
Yes.
All right, here goes. Principle number 1 of relationships for today is that the quality, in any relationship, the quality of a relationship depends on one's ability to choose it. And choosing it means you have to have the real ability to destroy it. Let's say that one more time. The quality of a relationship depends on one's ability to choose it, and choosing it means you have to have the real ability to destroy it. Right? And if that didn't make any sense, hang with me for the next few minutes. We're going to come back to that phrase, and I promise you, God willing, it'll make perfect sense. Okay? For example, can you think of a relationship that you did not choose? Parents, right? And that is why in a healthy situation, and everything we're talking today about, we're talking healthy situation. Okay? That is why in a healthy situation, everyone's like, I'm out. Okay? All right, fine. Stick with me, okay? Let's work in theory here, all right? That is why in a healthy situation, the parents are going to love the kids more than the kids love the parents, right? Because let's understand how what's happening here. It's actually a big question after all, right? Think about it. When those kids are born, right? When the kid is born, okay, what is the parent, again, healthy situation, what is the parent doing for the kid?
Life.
Everything, right? And what is the kid consciously doing for the parent? Nothing. And you're going to tell me after this that the parents are going to love the kids more than the kids love the parents? After all, the parents giving everything and the kids getting everything. The parents giving everything and the kids consciously giving nothing. And you're going to tell me that at the end of this relationship that's going to be the parents that love the kids more than the kids love the parents? And the answer is, what? Exactly. The answer is yes. That's exactly how it's going to be, because the way we create, because we have to understand we grew up with a false perception as to how to go ahead and to build love. Right? Because a lot of times we think, right? We think of that love. We talk, right? We walk down the ShopRite, we walk down the Pathmark, the supermarket counter at the express checkout, and you see on the magazine 50 ways to get the love you want. Right? And you think like, okay, I need to receive something here, right? And by the way, you do need to receive something. You do need to receive something in terms of, you need love, you need companionship. That's true in order for the relationship to survive, in order for the relationship to get by, no question about it. But that's survival. That's not thriving. That's not the love. That's not going to facilitate and build that higher level of lovey-dovey stuff that we really want and we're really looking for, right? Because ultimately, what we're saying here is that love is going to have nothing to do with what you get. You need it to survive. You need to get to survive. But what we're looking for, love is going to have nothing to do with what you get, only to do with the extent that you give forth. And by giving forth, we don't mean give $1 to the guy in the street. That's very nice. Nothing to do with love. What we're talking about in terms of love is true giving of self towards that other. Right? True giving of self towards that other, meaning when I truly give of myself towards that other, and they do something, maybe they don't do something that's so nice to me, whatever, but I'm able to understand why it is, or judge them properly or correctly and highly and whatever, and then give of myself towards them, and I constantly do it, and again tomorrow I extend of myself towards that other, and extend my identity towards that other to incorporate that other. And what do you know? I come to love the other like I love myself. Right? And so ultimately this is what happens with the parent. Right? That parent, again, after the kid is born, the kid wakes up 4 o'clock in the morning. At that moment, my friends, every parent has a choice to make. Do I pull myself out of bed to go take care of that kid, or do I roll over and that kid can cry himself to sleep? Right? Now at first it's like, oh my gosh, it's my baby, 2 weeks old. Right? Of course I have to get up and take care of that kid. Okay, come back to me 18 months later. We'll talk then, okay? We'll see what's up. So that choice becomes a real choice, and that choice becomes a real giving of self. Chucking myself in the garbage, right? I go wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go ahead and take care of that kid. Right? And so that's real giving of self and investment of self and identifying with that person. And then you start to identify with their pain. You start to identify with their triumphs. And then what do you know? You start to love the other like you love yourself. Right? Okay, fast forward, though, 20 years down the road. right? And here we catch up with, let's see, who's going to play here? You ready?
Sure.
All right, good. Here we go, my friend. And listen, by the way, if the example is no good for you, whatever, you just tell me. We'll pass it off, all right? What is your name, sir?
Ari Lewis.
Ari. Oh, Ari Lewis. Okay, I see you all over. Okay, fine. Okay, Ari Lewis. Here we are. Okay. Now, our question for you, my friend. Ari, hopefully one day you're going to get hitched?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
You'll see what happens. You want to get hitched one day? Obviously, we'll see what happens. You want to get hitched one day, or maybe this isn't for you?
How about I say yes so we can play this game?
Okay, let's do it. Okay. He's talking. Greg wants to play back there. Hold on a second.
Well, yeah, I wanted to play.
Okay, fine. All right. I need someone who really feels it. You know what I'm saying?
Fine, I feel it.
I got no. Greg's play. I need someone who really wants to, if someone's like, this has got to be real. Greg, you in?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. But we'll use you for the next one. How about that?
Excellent.
Deal? Okay. Don't worry. We'll get you later. Okay. Greg, Greg, you're now, whatever. We don't have to know how old you are. Okay, fine. So,
50.
okay, fine. So, Greg, hopefully you're going to get hitched one day? I'm in. Okay, good. So he's in. He wants in. Okay, so now, here's though what I don't get. And again, if this example is no good for you, you just tell me. I'll pass along to some other poor sucker, okay? But, so Greg, I just have a few questions for you. Ready?
Yes.
There it goes. Now, Greg, when you're growing up, the parents feed you?
Sort of, yeah.
Not that they stick the spoon in your
I
mouth.
don't think count Russian food. It's kind of
Okay.
Oh,
Boil the potato. Okay, fine.
forced is
They feed you, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. They clothe you? They put a roof over your head?
Yeah.
All right. Now, you ever do anything to upset these people?
Yes.
Ever make anybody cry? That's what's up. All right. So now here's after this happened, after this, you upset them this way. They still feed you?
Not anymore. I'm 32.
I'm not. After this, in your relationship under their rooftop, yeah,
Yes.
they still fed you, still clothe you, all right. Still put a roof over your head. All right. Sounds like you got a pretty sweet deal there, yeah?
Prefer not to, but in the end did.
They did, right? That's right. That's how it is. So it sounds like you have a pretty sweet deal. No?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, man. So now here's what I don't understand. We know each other a little bit. Seem like a relatively intelligent dude. Question for you is, why would an intelligent person such as yourself, right, go ahead and move from this relationship with the parents as primary relationship in one's life to a relationship with the spouse as primary relationship in your life, where if you say to the spouse what you said to your mother, you're going to be in a hell of a lot of trouble. Isn't that true?
You got kicked out.
So this is a question I have for you, but also we'll open this up to everybody else. No pressure, right? Why is it that we go ahead and make this move from the relationship with the parents as primary in one's life to a relationship with the spouse as primary relationship in one's life, right? If we could for a moment leave aside the obvious physical reasons and also leave aside the societal conditioning and all that, just relationship-wise, emotionally-wise, lovey-dovey-wise, why is it that we go ahead and make this move from the relationship with the parents as primary relationship in one's life to relationship with the spouse as primary relationship in one's life?
His parents are going to die.
Oh.
That's a positive one. Parents are going to die. Okay. Spouse is going to live forever. Yes. I know what you mean. I'm just joking. I know. Okay, go ahead.
You want to be the givers also, maybe.
Okay, you want to be the givers. Okay, we're getting somewhere. Keep going, people.
You want to create something too.
Nice.
You want to create something. Okay, good. You want to partner in creation. That's beautiful, very religious, biblical sounding. What else? What? So, who said the magic word? Who said that?
You want to choose.
Yo, speak up, sisters. Speak up.
You don't get to choose your parents. You get to choose a spouse. You want to make a decision for yourself in your life.
Okay. So let's go with that. However, I'm just going to tweak it a little bit. This concept of choice. I'm going to tweak it a little bit. All right, here we go. Okay, so this is actually that's I'm not going to go in. That's actually what I'm going to go into right now, kind of without saying it. Okay, because the truth is, right, it's more than just that. In other words, yes, that's true. oftentimes, that in the relationship with the parents, right, you're born into it, but in a relationship with the spouse, you could choose who your spouse is. However, truthfully, the choice goes much further than that, meaning into the relationship itself, even, right? That when you go ahead, right, and meaning that, like, in the relationship with the parents, okay, the relationship is so stable. Again, healthy situation. The relationship with the parents is so stable, it's almost like it's not even there. After all, you do something good, you get result X. You do something bad, you're still basically getting result X. I mean, yeah, there's a little fluctuation there, but come on. They're not kicking you out to the street unless you come at them with a chainsaw, right? And so for the parents it is. For a spouse, you might be right. No, you're right. You're right. That's why we transition. At some point, it's exactly the point we're trying to get to. At some point, we grow up. We become more mature, and this relationship actually starts to make us a little bit sick. We get sick of it, right? Because where's the me in the relationship? If I have no effect, my actions have no effect in the relationship, so this starts to annoy us. And so we start to transition from the relationship with the parents, from the internal stability of the relationship with the parents as primary relationship in our life, and we transition from that to the internal delicacy of the relationship with the spouse as primary in relationship in our life. We're in that more delicate relationship, the relationship that starts off more delicate. That relationship, it has the opportunity to get much higher, but only because the relationship could get real bad and real low in a hurry, right? And so it comes out an interesting thing, right? Because we're transitioning from a relationship that's inherently stable to a relationship that's inherently delicate, which is very interesting because I don't know if you've heard this. Some people have definitely said it to me, right? And I'm sure people have heard this. Obviously, you've probably heard that there are certain people who are looking for a stable relationship. Maybe you've heard such a thing. I don't know, right? But an obvious question, though, obvious question here is, hold on a second. When they say that they want a stable relationship, what does that mean? Right? Like guys, when a gal comes up to you and says that she wants a stable relationship, does that mean that she wants a relationship with you like she had with her parents? No, right? What it means, think about it. What they're really saying is like this. What they're saying is that they want to go ahead and take this relationship, which is delicate, this relationship with you, where there is a real pull, opportunity, and desire even sometimes to go away from the relationship, to do something that will destroy the relationship and bring down the relationship, nevertheless, to choose towards the relationship, to override that and choose towards the relationship, choose towards the other, choose towards their commitment, and to follow up on the relationship. And then tomorrow, when there's a real pull, opportunity, desire to go the other way, strengthen oneself over oneself and choose towards that other, towards that relationship, towards that commitment. And then do it again tomorrow, then do it again next week, then do it again next year, and then do it again next decade. And then ultimately, when we go ahead and look at that relationship that's been built, and we're going to look at this stable relationship that has been built, but the relationship that's been built, the stability of this relationship is totally different than the stability of the relationship with the parents, where the relationship with the parents, you do whatever, it doesn't do nothing, right? The relationship with the spouse, the relationship where the relationship is going to be at is going to be totally based on the choices that the two of you made towards the relationship, right? And so this is point number one in terms of how relationships operate. That principle number one in relationships is that in any relationship, the quality of a relationship depends on one's ability to choose it, and choosing it means you have to have the real ability to destroy it. Only when you have the real ability to destroy the relationship, only then when you go ahead and choose it, is that choice a real choice. Right? And so this is the necessity in Judaism for free will choice. You have to have the real free will capacity to destroy that relationship with the infinite, that spouse-like relationship with the infinite, in order that when you go ahead and choose towards the relationship, that choice is a real choice. Only then will we be able to access this spouse-like relationship with the infinite. Right? And so that's principle number one of relationships, right? Principle number one of relationships is that the quality of relationship depends on one's ability to choose it, and choosing it means you have to have the real ability to destroy it. Okay, who's with me so far?
You got it.
All right. Can I get a yeah? Can I get a relationship? In any relationship, the level of the relationship always depends on the lower of the two. In any relationship, the relationship always depends on the lower of the two, right? So if we have over here Ari, and ready to play, sister? Tara. All right, here we are in downtown Jerusalem, and Ari and Tara decide they're going to go out for a night on the town. And what do you know? You know how it goes. 1 l'chaim, 2 l'chaim, 3 l'chaim floor. And everyone is loosened up quite a bit. Right? At that moment, Ari stumbles over to Tara and says, Tara, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. You're wonderful, you're amazing, you're incredible. Let's get married. And at that moment, Tara turns back to Ari and says, Ari, there's something I've been meaning to tell you too. I can't stand you. You drive me crazy. I never want to see you again, right? Okay. So here we have Ari, totally in love, 100%. Tara, 0% wants nothing to do with this guy, right? My friends, where's this relationship at? Zero, right? Going nowhere fast, right? Because Ari could be totally in love, but it's not a loving relationship. Because relationship is only as strong as the one, because relationship is a two-way street, right? And therefore, relationship is only as strong as the one who wants it least, right? And so if we take this principle, though, and we apply it to our relationship with the infinite, we find it very awe-inspiring and empowering. The truth is an empowering thing, right? Because in our relationship with the infinite, right, here we have the infinite being, right? Totally, constantly giving us opportunity after opportunity to have the relationship with him. The question then becomes, how much do we choose back to God? To the extent we choose back to God, that's the extent the relationship is going to be there. To the extent not, it just simply won't be there. And so that's the thing. People like to think about like heaven and hell and all these wonderful words, right? Certain Kabbalists say, look, heaven, hell, whatever that is, right? Really, it's the same place. It's just a revelation of reality and your place in it, given the potential that you had and the choices that you made. For some people, that's heaven. For other people, not as much, right? And so the thing is that a lot of people think about like, heaven, whatever, like they have these, like as if it's people think of heaven like it's a treasure chest at the end of a rainbow or a trophy at the end of a season. Much better way of looking at it is if you can imagine, right? Imagine a 50th wedding anniversary party. Right? Take it right back to the relationship paradigm. Imagine a 50th wedding anniversary party, right? And you have the couple sitting there at the head of the table, and they look into each other's eyes, and it's like fireworks in the background, right? But can you hear the idea that the love that they are feeling is really going to be nothing more and nothing less than the experience of the sum total of the choices that each one made towards the other, minus the missed opportunities and the times they chose against each other, thereby building a conceptual wall between the two of them. Right? Nothing more, nothing less. Right? And so this is the idea. Same thing in terms of our relationship with the infinite. In any relationship, the relationship always depends on, the level the relationship is on is going to depend on the lower of the two. And in terms of our relationship with the infinite, the lower of the two is us. Right? But there's an empowering side to that. And that is, okay, the next question. All right, if the lower of the two is going to be us, if lower of the two is going to be me, next question is, okay, so how do I raise the bar? Right? How do I go ahead and raise that level of relationship? So this is the concept in Judaism. This is what we call the Torah, right? Because the concept of Torah in Judaism is, very simply, that the word Torah, of course, what does it actually literally mean? It's also related to the Hebrew word hora'ah, or morah. Morah is teacher. So Torah is teachings. Teachings for what? Teachings for life. What's life all about? Well, everyone wants to get the most pleasure, joy, happiness out of life. What's the most available? To build and facilitate a relationship, association, affiliation with the infinite. And therefore, what the Torah is going to be is the teachings for going ahead and building that relationship. Right? And the truth is, though, that every relationship you'll ever have in your life has a Torah. Every relationship you'll ever have in your life has an idiot's guide to relationship with person X, right? And in there are certain things. Do this, it'll make it better. Don't do that, it'll make it worse. And there are some things, hey, yeah, I understand why that'll work that way. And then there's other things, based on wine, based on Shias, man, I ain't never going to get it, right? And right, so I'll give you an example in terms of my relationship with my wife. I understand. There are certain things I understand. Do it or don't do it. I get it. I understand why it'll work or not work. There are other things based on she is, man. I don't know. Oh, a little too loud. All right. So, for example, I give you an example, right? In terms of my relationship with my wife, I understand. Come home with a smile on my face and roses in my hand. A little chocolate and diamonds never hurt, right? It'll be good for my relationship with my wife. Okay, I got that. Understand. Don't come back yelling and screaming. It'll be bad for your relationship with life. Okay, understand that one too. That makes sense to me too, right? But then there's these other things. Who based on why and based on she is. I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me out, right? Well, my wife has this thing. Basically, thou shalt not squeeze the toothpaste from anywhere other than the end of the tube, right? So here I am. Maybe some of you will help me out with this one, but here I am. We are married for 11 years, and I'll tell you what I have figured out. I figured out after 11 years of investigation that it will be better in my relationship with my wife if I just squeeze the toothpaste from the end of the tube, right? That is 11 years of case study right there, okay? So anyway, of course, this is just a little silly example to make the point, right? Which is that, look, you see it in our own lovey-dovey, lifelong partner, married to the person for 70 years and they're right in front of your face. Even there are certain things which I understand why it's going to work that way. There are certain things which at first I don't understand, but maybe I could learn more, study more, discuss more, talk to some people that'll help me out, whatever, then maybe I'll understand some things. And then there's those other things, which based on who I'm based on she is, I ain't never going to get it, right? And so just like we have that in our lifelong lovey-dovey partner relationship, so obviously it's a parallel, all the more so, right? That, of course, that we're going to have that in terms of our relationship with the infinite as well. It's just a parallel and projection of our relationship with the infinite, of our ultimate match made in heaven, right? And so this is essentially really, bottom line, a little bit of a Kabbalistic understanding, really, of what we're doing here, and also certainly from a Jewish perspective, it's kind of a Kabbalistic understanding of Judaism, right? At least the beginning and the outset. And from here, there's many places we can go. There's a lot to discuss, but this is at least an intro, and I think there's a lot that we can take from this. This is a bottom line. There's a lot of questions to be asked. There's a lot of progress and more discussion to be had, but I think this is the place to start.